wanted to talk just a little bit about Ames. If you've been in Ames before, you'll recognize some of these places, but maybe you haven't been to Ames. So it is a fairly small town, so we almost double in size when the university is in session. So when all of the students are here. Because of that, we kind of have this really kind of small town feel, but we have a lot of things to do. So you can see a picture of our historic Main Street that has some really fantastic shops. There's a chocolate store, there's a coffee shop that's wonderful, all kinds of different things, restaurants and stuff. The picture right below that is Ryman Gardens, which I have now learned has the world's largest garden gnome. So if you're interested in some of those world's largest things, there's a garden gnome that you can see in Ames. We are about 40 minutes north of Des Moines, which is the largest city in Iowa. That's where students fly in and out of if they're taking a flight home or to a conference or something. One of the cool things is that we have the highest concentration of veterinarians, and I believe it's in North America. So because of the vet school, because of the kind of number of clinics that we have in the surrounding area, and because we also in Ames have the United States Department of Agriculture National Animal Disease Center, the NADC, we have the highest concentration of veterinarians. So it's really great. The one thing about vet med is that it's kind of its own little bubble where, kind of connected to the rest of campus. So obviously as veterinary students, you get all of the different things on campus, different services on campus. But we do kind of have our own little community. We have one building where all of the veterinary courses are offered. It's connected to the teaching hospital. So you guys are, you kind of have one central location in that way. Let's talk a little bit about let's talk a little bit about the class size. I was just clearing out some questions there, Kathy. The class size, we have 158 positions available. Iowa residents, we reserve 60 seats for students from the state of Iowa. We reserve, we have contracts with North Dakota, and then a 2+2 program with Nebraska. So if you are a North Dakota resident or a Nebraska resident and want a little bit more information about that, we can absolutely cover that, or we can email back and forth if that's easier. But that means with that 2+2 program, Nebraska residents start their first 2 years at the University of Nebraska at Lincoln, and then come over to Iowa State and Ames for the years 3 and 4 of vet school, essentially. All applicants are ranked within their applicant pool. So when you submit an application as an in-state student, you are quote unquote competing with the other Iowa applicants for those 60 seats. Same thing with the contract or with North Dakota and Nebraska, and then the same thing with those out-of-state students. So you're not kind of trying to, you're not up for any one of those 58 seats. You kind of have your own blocks there. You can see here where the class of 2023 comes from. That's not, I had somebody ask like, well then, does that mean that only, or that 118 people always come from the Midwest? No. That fluctuates every year, is same for any of the other regions and US territories and international countries. It'll change every year. But because we have those 60 Iowa seats, those 32 seats from our contractor partner states, it does mean that the bulk of our students are from the Midwest, definitely, but it's just by default. It's not something that we are like admit more Midwest people than anywhere else. here's a little bit about how our class breaks down. So for the class of 2023, we admitted 154 new students. We did have some that returned to kind of repeat classes after their first year. And then we had, I think, one person defer. So that's why the numbers are a little bit different. You can see there we had about an 82% female, would be 16.5% men. Nope, 17.5% men. I can do math. And that is essentially in line with the national average of students who are applying. So that's something interesting that, you know, to take note of, that it's not that we weirdly select more women than men. It is kind of goes along with the amount of students who are, or the ratio of students who are applying. Mary has a great question. Is there an option to declare in-state residency after the first year? Unfortunately, the registrar has set residency where you must be, you must live in Iowa for a year where school is not your main priority.
You need to be working 30 hours a week. You need to be working.
Yes, you need to work 30 hours a week or more. You can, is it 5 credits?
You can take up to 6 credits.
Up to 6 credits. So essentially you can be a very, very part-time student, and you can, you know, you have to work more than part-time. You have to, there's a whole list of things to do on the registrar's website, including, you know, paying taxes and registering to vote and getting a driver's license, Iowa driver's license, all of these things. For our vet students, it's essentially impossible to be a full-time vet student and establish residency. If you have an extenuating circumstance that you want to ask about, please feel free to reach out to the Iowa State Registrar. You can find them by searching on our website. Unfortunately, I know some states do allow in-state residency after a year of vet school. We don't. Good question. Thank you for asking it. Okay, so you can see there our degrees are our average GPAs as well. So let's talk a little bit about our kind of small animal and our offerings. So each one of these is a different department in our small animal hospital. So I think sometimes students, or I think sometimes Iowa State gets the reputation of being like large animal focused, which we are. We have the benefit of being in a state which, you know, has a large amount of animal agriculture. So we have a lot of really great opportunities for that. But we also do invest in our small animal hospital and getting our students small animal experience as well. So for example, now we're coming up on 1.5 years that our stereotactic radiation therapy machine has been up and running. So that's that picture there with Dr. Johannes, who is our one of our oncologists, veterinary oncologists, and one of our technicians, Dreama, working with a cat, you know, in front of the SRT. So really, really cool things happening in a lot of those different areas. Each one of those then would be an area that would be open for rotations in the 4th year. Like I said, large animal medicine, there's a ton of different things that you can do there as well. So you can see there some of our offsets. So we have a fantastic large animal hospital. So with a lot of cool state-of-the-art things going on there. But we also send our students out to learn more in the field, because we understand not every producer is going to, you know, bring their animal into the hospital, and not every veterinarian who works with large animals is going to have that hospital there. So we have veterinary field services, which is essentially a functioning ambulatory veterinary clinic run by Iowa State. So you load up all of your supplies, you hop in a vet truck with a veterinarian, with your supervising veterinarian, and you head out and you make farm calls all day. The Swine Medicine Education Center and the Great Plains Veterinary Center are both off-site. The Swine Medicine Education Center obviously focuses on swine. The Great Plains Veterinary Education Center has beef cattle. And so students can do learning opportunities there, including internships in the summer. So, Alexandra, great question. I'm interested in wildlife and zoo medicine, specifically aquatics, where you have most of your experience. What kind of experience or opportunities do you offer students like me with more unusual interests? So we try and do our best to connect you with resources. So up until last year, we had a rotation specifically at the Blank Park Zoo in Des Moines. So that zoo, or that Des Moines, about 40 minutes south of us. Unfortunately, right now that's on hold because of COVID. And you know, COVID hit zoos, I think, very hard. And so we're, you know, continually working to get students in experiences in the area that they're involved in. That kind of sounds like a non-answer, but that's what we've got for right now. What I will say is that we have a Zoo Exotics Wildlife Club that works, that's really great about offering wet labs and different kind of trips and stuff like that for students interested in more wildlife and zoo. And then, you know, we try and partner with, you know, different places like the Omaha Zoo, the Henry Dorley Zoo in Omaha, Nebraska, to get you those experiences, knowing that really vet school is all about the foundation, right? So you're going to get a good foundation to then gain those, you know, experiences on top of. Great. Margaret's question, do you have any programs working with animals such as military or police working dogs? I'm not sure specifically. However, I know that our ophthalmology group actually does eye exams for military and police working dogs. And then we have, I can't remember the name of the group right now, but they work with training and, you know, kind of raising dogs that will be service animals. So they'll, you know, bring them in and do, you know, physical exams and stuff like that. So there's some groups that work specifically with Iowa State's vet school with our veterinary clinic with that. So there are some, you know, kind of touch points there. I'm not sure if there's any sort of program. I did get to meet one of those service animal puppies because they came in for their physical exam, and it was, I think, maybe the best day at Vet Med, because there were like all kinds of golden, you know, puppies running around everywhere. So there are opportunities for that. Hard and fast program, I'm not sure of. Great. Allison, a question, do you have any students who received the health profession scholarship from the Army? Absolutely. So we have had students who graduated with that and have that. Absolutely. It's a great program for helping to lower that cost of student or of your education.
Basically eliminates the cost of education.
Yeah, I think I was talking to one of our fourth year students, and he has to pay his first year, and that's it.
Yeah.
So, and he was really happy with that. So I wanted to talk just a little bit about what our curriculum looks like. So we have a fairly traditional curriculum. You'll be in lectures and fairly traditional structure. You'll be in lectures and labs for especially your first 3 years. Your first year is all about normal anatomy and physiology. So that, you know, one semester of anatomy and physiology is nothing compared to your first year. I think it's something like how many credits? 20 credits in their first year.
Of anatomy and physiology, yes.
So, I mean, you got to learn the basics, right? You got to learn what's normal before you can move on. They do try and tie that with clinics though. So along with anatomy and physiology, you'll also be doing a clinical foundations course. So that course is going to focus on, you know, like things like drawing blood, basic physical exams. You know, we want to say, okay, you know, yes, you're dissecting this animal, but we also want to, you know, kind of see the clinical implications of that. You'll also have a clinical imaging class. So what you're seeing in the anatomy lab, you'll also be able to see on radiographs as well. So again, trying to tie that to clinics even in that first year. The second year focuses then obviously on what's abnormal. So you start taking things like parasitology and pathology and those sorts of things. Your third year is transitioning to clinics. So you get into more treatments, medications. You'll have a surgery lab where you'll actually do spays and neuters on dogs and cats. We bring those animals in from local shelters, and so they and we do those spays and neuters, and then those dogs and cats go back out to shelters so that they can be adopted. So it's a really great kind of working partnership that we have with local clinics that are, sorry, local shelters that way. And then in that, right after finals week, your third year, your spring semester of your third year, you're going to head into clinics, and you'll do clinical rotations for an entire calendar year in everything from your, you know, basic radiology and surgery, anesthesia, to the things that you're most interested in that you'll actually pick your focus in, you know, whether that's equine, small animal, mixed, everything like that. So where we are traditional in that, we're a little bit less, I think, traditional in the way that we kind of pick an area of focus. So all of these things we're going to teach as broadly as we possibly can. And then in the middle or in the beginning of your third year, you're going to pick an area of focus. Really what that's doing though is helping you set up clinical rotations. So it doesn't have a huge impact on your third year academically, but it does help set up for clinics. So you'll pick one of these areas of focus. That mixed animal track is typically where students who have that exotic or wildlife interest kind of fall into, or choose, I should say. So your fourth year, you'll have some rotations that are required. Like I said, we're trying to teach broadly, so everybody's going to take a large animal rotation. Everybody's going to be in the small animal hospital. Everybody's going to be in radiology or diagnostic imaging. And then you'll have some rotations that are specific to your area of focus. Then you'll have elective time where you can do, you know, everything from the electives offered in your rotation to going out and working with other veterinary clinics, all of that kind of stuff. So, so we try and make that customizable to you while still giving you that good overview. So I know I'm going fast, but I want us to all be able to enjoy. Hopefully it's gorgeous. It's hot here in Iowa, but hopefully it's gorgeous where you are. We do a lot of research at Iowa State. So you can see here just a few of the things that we're doing. We're also currently doing research with COVID now too. I don't have that up on this slide, but that is happening at Iowa State as well. One of the cool things that our students get to be a part of is a program, or, you know, can choose to be a part of, is a program called Summer Scholars. And that pairs students with instructors or faculty members doing research. And so you'll be able to help out with that research for a summer. It's a paid program, so you do get paid a little bit for your work over the summer. But you also get other benefits like having, connections with those faculty members, gaining experience in research. Some of the students present posters and get published or have the opportunity to get published. And then some students continue that research on throughout the school year too. So lots of good things happening in the research field as well. Are there research opportunities that the university does with USDA? Yeah, so there are students who are helping out with research with the USDA. There's a lot of collaboration that goes on between the two, absolutely. So if you're interested in more of that on the National Animal Disease Center side of things, you can absolutely find some good connections there. So definitely. Okay. So you can see here, we try and do as much hands-on learning as we can. Obviously, you are still going to have to get information thrown at you by way of lectures, but we try and give you some good hands-on experience as well. So we have a clinical skills lab that when we can have people back and touring the facility, I think it's one of the great highlights of our facility. You can kind of see the couple of pictures there. Whether you're doing, practicing suture patterns or blood draws, whether you're using Bonnie, which is our horse, to learn a little bit more about colic, there are some really awesome things that our students use that clinical skills lab for each year. They kind of have different things there. And then the last picture there is that junior surgery suite that we talked about. So Kristen asks, are lectures recorded? Absolutely. So the lectures are recorded and put up. Instructors can kind of set their own parameters for that. Some instructors leave them up all semester. Some leave them up for, a week or two if you want to catch up and use them to study. This year we'll obviously use the technology to allow some of those lectures to be watched off campus or remotely so that we can not have all 150 students packed in one lecture hall. But yes, absolutely, we've got that function so that you can go back and watch those. Okay, last thing that I'd like to cover with you, I think it's important. I think it's a valid thing to think about when you're thinking about which veterinary school you ultimately end up at, and that is cost. So I usually tell people to take a deep breath because I'm going to put up the tuition. And I don't say this obviously to talk you out of choosing our vet school or anything, but I think it's a good thing, like I said, to kind of keep in mind as you're picking vet schools. So you can see there resident and non-resident tuition for 2019-2020. In what I typically say is that, that cost will rise, obviously. Tuition is one of those things that unfortunately historically has not gotten cheaper. However, this year, for 2020, 2021, they have said that it won't change because of the impact of COVID. So obviously global pandemics don't come around every year. I would imagine that we would start seeing tuition rise once we, start globally recovering from COVID. But here are the numbers. One of the things for the housing and meals, books and supplies, and anticipated costs is this is an average that we get from our students, from our veterinary students. So they are a little bit different than the undergraduate fees and stuff like that. You can do this cheaper or more cheaply and less expensively. I don't know what I want to say there. And kind of see that price tag lower just a little bit. But obviously tuition and fees is going to stay the same. So, so is deferment an option if students wish to declare residency? Generally, no. So deferment is an option. If you would like to request, if you get an offer of admission and would like to formally request to defer, you absolutely can request that. Typically it's for some, major life circumstance. So, thinking about, a family member who's been diagnosed, who you need to stay home and take care of or stay near. Kathy, what are some other examples of?
Basically, it's that we've had some people that have just found out they were pregnant, so they wanted to ask for the year off. It's usually for something like that. It cannot be done for residency.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, we just have a whole class deferring every year.
Right.
Because, yeah, the difference is incredible.
I would say, and Kathy can, correct me if I'm wrong, but I would say that because of the applicant pool, we typically have, for those 60 seats, we typically have 120 to 140 students who apply from the state of Iowa for those 60 Iowa seats, where for the 66 out-of-state seats, we may have 900 people who apply, and maybe we go down in our wait list to 250 or 300. So there's still a good number of people that you have to kind of have a stronger application then to apply or to be admitted. So if you are admitted as an out-of-state student, and in that year you can kind of do more to kind of bulk up an application. If you were to decline our offer and then move to Iowa to become a resident, you may have a good shot at that too. That would be an option. You may feel comfortable.
We've had people do that. Yeah, I was just gonna say we have had people do that will decline a resident position, stay the year, get their residency and be admitted. And I mean, there's always a risk in doing that, but we have had people successfully do that.
Yeah. So yeah, that's something to kind of keep in mind. Declining our offer or having an unsuccessful application and reapplying, so I should say reapplying for any reason, does not hurt your chances of being admitted that next cycle. So we don't keep a record of that. We don't, compare from year to year or anything like that. You will be looked at as, with kind of a fresh set of eyes. So if you are reapplying for whatever reason, that's okay. Okay. So along the tuition lines, I did want to say that we do offer scholarships, especially we offer scholarships for any student, whether they're an incoming first-year student or a fourth-year student. Last year, we gave out $1.1 million in scholarships just from Iowa State, and I know students, got received scholarships outside of the college as well, so from different organizations, companies, all of that kind of stuff. So scholarships are a thing. For incoming first-year students, we will take your application and FAFSA into consideration when we award those scholarships. So you don't have to go chasing after scholarships for a school that you don't know if you've gotten into yet. We will look at your application and your FAFSA. Because of that, I think a good target if you are filling out FAFSA is to fill that out by January. So that when we're making decisions by mid-February, we have that information, because our scholarship committee likes to work to get a lot of those scholarship offers to first-year students out when they are close to the time that they are offered admission. So perfect. With that, I want to say thank you again. That was kind of Iowa State in a very small nutshell. If you have any other questions, Kathy and I are happy to answer those via email. I can't believe we got through almost 100 questions today, Kathy.
Oh, geez, yeah. It
So
makes me feel good. It makes it worthwhile.
absolutely. So we just want to say thank you again for attending. Good luck this application cycle, and let us know if you have any questions. Ooh, Allison's got a question. I work full time. I'm going to quit my job if I get into vet school. How will that reflect on my FAFSA? So FAFSA is looking at last year's,
Yeah, almost 2 years now.
essentially 2
It's
years now.
yeah, because they can fill it out in December of this year, based on 2019's application, and that's the one we're going to use for looking at. That's where they need to talk to one of the financial aid advisors, because they can adjust things. Because yes, if you're working full time, your FOF's going to show you have a lot more money than you actually have. So that we have a financial aid advisor that's strictly vet med, and they can help you through what you need to do and things like that. Because yes, it will be looking backwards, and so you're not going to have that money while you're in vet school.
Yep. Perfect. Okay, great. Got another question snuck under the gun right there. So will my full-time income hurt me? Again, question for Tara Joyce. I'm going to put in here, I don't know if you're still logged on. Hopefully you are. I'm putting in her email address as a response to your question. Go ahead and give her a shout, and ask her about for advice about that.
There's adjustments that can be made and everything, because that is true. People are giving up full-time jobs to come to vet school in frequently.
Yep.
So
yep, perfect. Okay, great. Thank you again. We are going to go ahead and sign off. Thanks, Kathy, for sticking around for an extra half an hour with me.
That's not a problem. It's just a little bit confusing today, but that's okay.
Yes.
Is your basement fine now?
Well, I'm sure I have a whole mess of water to clean up, but whatever was broken is now fixed.
So okay, good.
Okay. Have a good weekend, everybody.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.